Our fourth annual, and this is the largest crowd ever. It's very gratifying to see that, and I'm sure that's a reflection of three outstanding recipients this year. Well, our first inductee today is Ernie Edwards. Ernie spent many decades as a teacher, coach, principal, and superintendent in Watertown. Few local residents have shaped as many lives in as many areas of the community. Ernie was also retired Brigadier General for the South Dakota Army National Guard, proving time and again that his commitment and dedication to improving the community's future. His time in the Guard ran concurrently with his 39 years as an educator in the state of South Dakota, and I'm sure you're all aware that the Readiness Center in Watertown was recently named in honor of our first inductee. So with that, I am proud to introduce Ernie's son, Jeff Edwards, who will be giving his acceptance speech. Jeff?
Good afternoon. Thanks everybody for being here. It means the world to my dad and our family. I look out into the room and see so many people who have worked with my dad as an educator, a guardsman, community members, community committees, and a lot of friends. People who he has spent time with, brought him a lot of happiness, a lot of meaning in his life here in Watertown. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for recognizing my father's contributions to the Watertown community. My dad deeply loves Watertown, and it is so gratifying for him to feel the love back. I want to thank Brad Johnson, who I know is here somewhere. We just saw him earlier. Through your columns in the public opinion, you keep us informed of and invite engagement in the civic life of Watertown. I have to say that a lot of what I know about my father's involvement in the community, I know from your columns. So thank you. Every city should be so lucky to have somebody so involved and committed, writing regularly for their local newspaper. Thank you to Dwight P. Miller and Coach John DeWitt, wherever you are today. These two great educators recruited my father to Watertown 60 years ago from the University of South Dakota and mentored him and served as role models in his early career. Thank you to my mom, Luann Edwards, for your love, support, and partnership with Dad, for the spirit you bring to the community, and for the many less visible things you do for the church and the community. To Joy Nelson and to Lew Raderschadt's family, congratulations on your recognition today. The one thing my father laboriously typed out for me to say today is that he is deeply humbled to be in your company. One of the most important things I learned from my father that he modeled for me is that everybody is of equal moral worth. Everyone has something important to say that should be heard. Everyone has talents that deserve to be nurtured. Everyone has something to contribute, be they students, teachers, parents, soldiers, community members, be they Democrats, Republicans, or Independents. At this September's homecoming parade, I was outside Jenkins watching the parade with my parents, my sister Jamie, and a float carrying members of the class of 1971 came by. They noticed my father, and several of them circled back to talk to him and to express what a great impact he had on their life. One of them exclaimed with great passion, as though he were still a teenager, he said, "Your dad was the first person who treated us as adults." My dad had listened to them as young people and treated what they had to say with the respect it deserved. I think that people really value what my dad has to say. And I think they value that because they know he has already listened to them and to others, and that he formulates his own thoughts and plans while valuing others' perspectives, experiences, thinking, and feeling. My dad isn't able to do all the things he used to be able to do, and there were so many things he loved to do. None of this was work for him. Teaching, coaching, leading schools, leading soldiers, serving on civic committees, attending WHS sports and music events. It has been hard for him to adjust to his new life, but some of his finest qualities are not lost. He has not lost his passion for Watertown, and he can still listen to you and encourage you. He is eager to do so, as always. On behalf of my father, thank you so much for this great honor.
Our next inductee into the 2016 class of the Watertown Community Hall of Fame is Joy Nelson. The ranch near Lake Compesca that bears her name is perhaps the most visible of Joy's contributions to Watertown. But the beautiful facility is one small example of her commitment to our community. A realtor by trade, Joy is deeply involved in the community, and she's served on a number of local boards. They got to her first on a statewide basis. Before we got her inducted, the South Dakota Hall of Fame inducted Joy earlier this year. So it's been a banner year and a well-deserved year for Joy Nelson. And I've mentioned to a lot of folks along the way that I think it's hard to think of anyone else that deserves the extra honor of being our first female Hall of Fame member and our youngest Hall of Fame member. It's very fitting that Joy would fill those two spots. So accepting the award for the Watertown Community Hall of Fame, please welcome Joy Nelson.
Thank you all for being here today, and my sincere congratulations to Lew's family and to Ernie, both model citizens of this community and icons of this community. Ernie was actually my junior high principal, so he maybe had a large part in keeping me on the right track. So I'm obviously so incredibly honored and humbled to be standing here today. Very heartfelt, as this is home. I've lived in this community for a little over 60 years now, and I've loved every minute of it. I heard them asking in the back of the room, how old is she anyway? So the cat's out of the bag, a little over 60. A couple of months ago, I told the audience in Chamberlain what my beliefs are and how they have dictated the journey of my life. I'll share a few of those with you. I believe in being a futuristic, out-of-the-box thinker. I believe in being unique, daring to be different, and I believe in having the courage to lead the world in a new direction. I believe in following your dreams. I believe in meeting all challenges head-on, sacrifice, and hard work. I believe in the healing power of horses, and I firmly believe in the quality of life for all. All the projects and nonprofits that I am involved in carry that component, quality of life. Yes, one can have a vision for things the community needs and dream up projects that enhance all of our lives here. And I guess I've been told I have a knack for dreaming things up, good or bad. But it takes more than that to bring these things to fruition. It takes we the citizens of this community, who are so willing to partner and help with visions to actually make them happen. When I announced the original vision for Joy Ranch, it was all of us, we, who heeded that call, enhancing the lives of thousands of people now and way into the future for other generations. Even today, as Joy Ranch grows by leaps and bounds, far beyond the original vision, when Joy Ranch issues a call for help, it is we who heed that call. When Habitat for Humanity issues the call for help in putting families and homes that otherwise would not have that opportunity. It is we who heed that call. When LATI issues the call for help for students to gain that invaluable skill set that we so desperately need, again, it is we who heed that call. When Chief Joe's Hope Healing in Horses and Hope in God programs just newly created this spring for combating sexual abuse through equine experiences at Joy Ranch, the call was issued for help, and again, it was we who responded. When the Cottington County Historical Society is in need of funds to preserve our local history and heritage for the generations to come, we heeded that call. When the vision was for Watertown to have a sculpture walk to begin the revitalization of our downtown, the plan was formulated, the call went out, and we responded. These are just a few of the things I'm involved in and have first-hand knowledge that it indeed was we who were there to make it all happen. We, the citizens of this community that I love, a strongly bonded community that displays vibrance, generosity, hometown values, and great vision to make our community, Watertown, the best community in the state. Who would not want to work for a community that's comprised of such outstanding people and citizens? It is a pleasure to do so. So, with your permission, I will accept this award today, but I would feel much better if you would allow me to accept this on behalf of we, not me. We, all of us, who together make things happen for the betterment of all. That is who this award belongs to, our team, Watertown. As I leave you today with this promise, I will always continue to partner with all of you to make sure Watertown just keeps getting better and better all the time. My friends, thank you very much. This is home, always will be, so this is incredibly special. Thank you and congratulations, Team Watertown.
Our third recipient today is Lew Raderschadt. Lew's philosophy was the difference between work and play is mental attitude. He lived that philosophy. His hands-on approach to business and life was appreciated by everyone who knew him. Lew is a big behind-the-scenes contributor to many causes and organizations. Unfortunately, we lost Lew in July of this year. But we're all a little better because we knew Lew. It was a quote from our mayor, Steve Thorson. Here to accept the plaque for the Watertown Community Hall of Fame, Lew's son, Dan Raderschadt.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to Ernie and Joy. Yeah, it's a great company today. You both are very well deserving of your honor as well, so thank you. I put together a few thoughts, and I actually tried to do it maybe a little different than I normally do, but I wanted to do something from my mom's perspective, and maybe from my perspective, and then maybe from the business perspective, of what I knew of my dad. A few things from my mom's perspective. First off, Lew loved his family. He loved my sister Lori, who was out in Sacramento, California, and myself, his grandchildren, and he was always so proud of his family. Remember, he said, actually I didn't know this, but my mom told me this, but he would tell my mom that he loved her more than life itself. And I didn't know that until after he passed, but she said he always said that, and I thought that was kind of neat. Dad gave to others, many times denying himself. It was something that he was always very thoughtful, and he always remembered others that maybe had less than he did. I remember a lot of widows in town that he had a special heart for, especially around the holidays. He gave to them, and I kind of, my mom saw him live that out. And I'm reminded of a passage in James 1:27 that says, "Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unspotted from the world." And I saw my dad live that out. I'm not sure what gave him that compassion for widows, but he really had a compassion for widows. As a young person, he always thought he was poor as a child, and maybe thus his drive and always working so hard. But I remember that he always thought, especially earlier in life, that he didn't have much. He was a saver. Those of you who knew my dad well know that he was pretty conservative. The Elko Motel, which was their family business that my grandpa and grandma built along with him and his sisters here today, Marge and Mary. Elko, many of you don't know this, but Elko, E standed for Ella, which is my grandma's name, L standed for Lou, and CO was for company. So if you ever wonder where Elko name come in, that's where it came in from. But, Dad did not spend any money until that mortgage was paid off. His sisters could probably relate, but he was very conservative, and he wanted the mortgage paid off so he could burn that thing. Waste of money was very disturbing to my dad, and this also helped shape his political convictions. A few things from my perspective. As a young boy, Dad always let me shoot first. I still remember every one of these situations. I wish I could relay what I see in my mind right now, but he was there when I shot my first duck, my first pheasant, my first goose, my first antelope, my first deer, my first elk, my first caribou, and so on. He was always there. And you know what? If that game presented itself, he said, when he raised his gun, he'd say, "You shoot first." So he's very caring and considered as a father. My dad was also a very excellent shot at running game with a rifle. And I remember elk hunting with him in the Black Hills in 2002. And we got on this trail, this bull elk that was with a herd of cows. And we went so far in the Black Hills that I had no idea where we were at. And he didn't either, but he kept following me. And I still remember, once again, I wish I could show you this picture on film, but about 100 yards, we come up to the top of this saddle, and I saw this bull elk in this real heavy timber. And all of a sudden, this elk saw us, and it started running. It was about 100 yards away, running through heavy timber. Dad shot 4 times on the run. He hit it 3 times right through the lungs, and I'll never forget that as long as I live. And as I mentioned earlier, Dad had a heart for widows, from my perspective. Kids' educational opportunities. Education was very important to him, and he always looked for ways in which he could help young people with educational opportunities. And also those suffering catastrophic events in their life. He was always aware of those things, and he was behind the scenes helping in those situations. And last but not least, pheasants. Pheasants was big on his mind. I was glad my dad wasn't with me last Saturday as I took a drive to some of our farm ground down by Willow Lake, South Dakota. On my way there, I witnessed many new acres, new since even last year, where the habitat had been destroyed and the trees removed. And that would have made my dad very sad. And I was just really glad that he wasn't with me. He was a true conservationist. He was habitat conscious. He planted thousands of trees. He planted hundreds of acres of grassland for nesting and wildlife habitat on the land the Lord blessed him with. And we're going to continue with that. Today I know I have Marty Spinwood and Brent Shamans here. They're both here from Cottington County Pro Pheasants. They are both true friends of my dad. An organization that meant the world to him. To both of you, I know if he were here today, he'd say, "Carry that torch valiantly. The wildlife is depending on you." And last but not least, from my perspective, Dad, he had a real desire to share the gospel message, one which changed his life in his later years. He understood that a future home in heaven depended not on form or religion, but on a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. From a business perspective, Dad always bought low. He had a knack for right timing and negotiating in his purchasing, whether it was buying land, whether it was importing and dealing with the Chinese, or even buying a car. If there are any car dealers here today, you'll know that they would practically pay him to leave. I always felt so sorry for the car dealers. He was an entrepreneur at a very young age. He ran his first fireworks stand for Claude Dunlop. Maybe some of you here might remember the name Claude Dunlop, at the age of 10. Then he figured out if Claude could pay him to run it, why not purchase the product on his own and bypass the middleman? That's what was going on in his mind, even at that age. His mom found out one day when he's supposed to be in school that he's actually working in a Spies grocery store. He seemed to understand very well what it took to be profitable in all his business dealings. He also understood the fact that good records will make you money. I witnessed that not only in Dad's life, on a daily basis, but I also noticed after his passing, the records he left me to continue to carry on where he left off. And it was amazing the records he left me. Many didn't know that he was the go-to man in the area for coin collectors. He was so very knowledgeable in this field. He had his own sideline business through life in coin collecting. He was a Korean conflict veteran. He understood the value of his freedom, which also provided him some of the fuel in running a business which celebrates our freedom. I watched him demonstrate many times the importance of remembering our veterans, and hopefully I can carry that on myself. Dad was a 1950s, 60s Democrat who, as our world changed and began to stray some from the biblical standards, became one of whose values lined up more with the Republican platform on morality, social, and economic issues. He was always so proud, though. He liked to keep his Democrat voting status just so he could vote on that side, but he was usually voting Republican in his later years. So I'm not trying to offend any Democrats here, but just telling you what it was like. So he was very active in local and state government, and he knew well all of our local and state representatives. Governor Janko knew him on a first-name basis, and other governors had personal communication with him on various topics, from business issues to habitat issues. If you knew my dad well, you knew you never had to wonder what Lou was thinking, because he told you exactly what was on his mind and what he believed. We joked that he would not be a very good politician. I had the opportunity to share with him when he'd been selected to the Hall of Fame in July, and he felt so very humbled and honored, and all he could do was tear up and be silent. So I just want to say thank you to all of those today that have honored Lou and our family. He was not only good for the city of Watertown, he was good for many of those who knew him, and he's especially good to those of our family, so thank you.
Well, we just heard some vignettes of why Watertown is such a special community, and that's what the Watertown Community Hall of Fame and our luncheon is to celebrate. And it's because of people like Ernie Edwards, Joy Nelson, and Lew Raderschadt why we have such a special community, and why those three join 8 others in the Watertown Community Hall of Fame. A little bit of admonition, if you would, go out to the Redland Arts Center and see the Hall of Fame plaques and the wall where we celebrate past inductees. And these 3 plaques will join them, so come up and look at those. That ends our luncheon today. I'm not going to give Bob any credit, but it is before 1 o'clock, so we did meet our goal. Thank you all. Watch for the announcement for next year's event. It'll be in a similar time frame as early November as like this. If the weather can be repeated, we'll just pray for that as well. So thank you all for coming, and again, congratulations to our inductees.